Hi, I'm Yale, and I've been selling digital products on Etsy since 2022. Since then, I've made over $300,000 from it. And in this video, I've condensed years of experience into one full beginner-friendly masterclass. So you'll know exactly how to get started step by step. So grab a coffee or something because we're about to get into it. What even are digital products? Digital products are products that people can purchase and download instantly online. So instead of receiving something physical, they get a digital file that they can use, edit, or print. Some common examples are planners, social media templates, invitations, workbooks, wall art, presentations, and many more. Now, why is this such a popular business? First, it's very easy to start. You don't need inventory, you don't need to ship anything, and you don't need a big upfront investment. It mostly just comes down to your time and effort. And once you create a product, it can sell over and over again, which makes it scalable and more passive over time. On the buyer side, people love digital products because they save time. Instead of creating something from scratch, they can just buy a template, customize it, and use it right away. You can sell digital products on a lot of platforms, but one of the best for beginners is Etsy. That's because Etsy already has built-in traffic. People are already going there to search for digital products. So instead of finding customers yourself, Etsy is already bringing them to you. And that makes it much easier to get started compared to building your own website from scratch. Alright, so the first step is to create your Etsy seller account. And the reason I recommend doing this first is because you want to make sure you can actually open a shop before you start putting time into creating products. Sometimes people go all in, they design their products, prepare everything, and then run into issues setting up their shop. So I like to get this part out of the way first just to make sure everything is set up properly before you start putting in the work. Head over to etsy.com/sell and click Get Started. If you don't have an Etsy account yet, you'll need to register using your email, enter your name, and create a password. Once you're in, Etsy will guide you through the initial setup. From the start, you'll see that there's a one-time fee to open up your shop. For me, it's $26, but this can vary depending on your location. Typically, it ranges anywhere from about $15 to $30 USD converted into your local currency. Go ahead and click Start Your Shop. From here, you'll select your shop preferences, your language, your country, and your currency. Next, you'll choose your shop name. Don't overthink this too much, you can always change it later. Just keep in mind that your shop name has to be unique, so if it's already taken, you'll need to try a different one. Once that's set, you'll move on to enter in your personal and banking information. For your seller type, most beginners will fall under individual or sole proprietorship, which simply means you're selling under your own name. If you haven't registered a business yet, this is most likely the option for you. Then you'll fill in your details, your name, address, date of birth, and connect your bank account so Etsy knows where to send your payments. Just make sure you have access to the bank account you're providing because Etsy will send a small deposit to verify it, and you'll need to enter that amount into the system to confirm the account later on. After that, you'll need to verify your identity by uploading a government-issued ID like a passport or driver's license and taking a quick selfie for verification. And once that's done, you'll just follow the remaining steps to finish setting up your shop. I'm not going to go through the entire setup process here since I'm using a dummy account, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Etsy will guide you through each step. Just make sure you're entering the correct details as you go through the process. Also, something really important to mention, Etsy isn't available in every country. There are only certain countries where you can open a shop, so I'm going to put the full list on screen here for you to check. Your country isn't on that list. Unfortunately, there's no workaround for that at the moment, but the good news is you can still sell digital products on other platforms. Some beginner-friendly platforms you can explore are Creative Market, Gumroad, and Payhip, which also have some level of built-in traffic. You can also sell on your own website. It just means you'll need to bring in your own audience. Also, if you're under 18, you can still sell on Etsy if you're between 13 to 17, but you'll need permission and supervision from a parent or legal guardian. The account has to be created under their information, and they're responsible for the account. Alright, so before you start selling, I quickly want to go over Etsy fees so you understand how this works. There are three main fees you need to know about. The first one is a listing fee. This is the fee you pay to publish a product on Etsy, and it's 20 cents USD per listing. Each listing stays active for 4 months or until the item sells. If it does sell, the listing automatically renews and you'll be charged the 20 cents again. The second fee is a transaction fee. When you make a sale, Etsy takes 6.5% from the total sale price. The third fee is a payment processing fee. This is the fee for handling the payment, and it's usually around 3 to 4% of the sale, plus a small fixed fee of 25 cents. So just to give you a quick example, if you sell a product for $50, Etsy would take about 6.5% for the transaction fee, which is around $3.25. Then for payment processing, let's say roughly 3%, that's about $1.50 plus the 25 cents fixed fee. So in total, you're paying roughly around $5 in fees on a $50 sale. Now, those are the main fees you need to understand when you're selling on Etsy. But in reality, when you look at your actual Etsy statements, there are a few additional fees that might get included as well, depending on where you're located. Things like regulatory operating fees and taxes on seller fees. A regulatory operating fee is a small percentage fee, around 1.15% of your order total, that Etsy charges in certain countries based on local regulations. Taxes on seller fees is basically tax applied to the fees that Etsy charges you. Depending on your location, Etsy collects this and remits it to the appropriate tax authorities. If you want more details on all of this, you can always go to Etsy's website. I'll put the link on screen here. This is where you'll find Etsy's house rules and full breakdown of fees for sellers. I do recommend going through it if you want a deeper understanding. Before we move on, I just want to quickly show you around your Shop Manager dashboard so you don't feel overwhelmed when you first see it. This is basically your dashboard where you control everything in your shop. The main tabs you'll be using are listings. This is where you create and manage your products. Messages, where you communicate with your customers. Orders, this is where you'll see all your sales come in. Stats, where you can track your shop's performance. Marketing, where you can run ads or promotions. Finances, where you can see your earnings and fees. Settings, where you can manage your shop details. That's really all you need to be familiar with for now. The rest you'll naturally learn as you go. I also highly recommend downloading the Etsy Seller app on your phone. This lets you manage your shop on the go so you can check your sales, reply to customer messages, and basically keep an eye on everything without needing to be on your computer. Alright, so now that your shop is set up, let's take a little bit of time to actually build out your storefront. I personally like to do this early on because it makes everything feel more real. Think of it like a physical store. Before you start putting products on the shelves, you would set up the space first. You'd put up your sign, design the storefront, make it look presentable. It's kind of the same idea here. When your shop looks complete, it just feels more legit and it gives you that extra push to keep going. Now let's talk about branding assets. These are basically the visuals you need to set up your shop, and this is going to be your first impression to potential buyers. So I do recommend taking a bit of time here because this is what people will see all across your shop. Go to Canva and create an account because this is where you will be doing this. There are 3 main things you need to prepare. The first one is your logo, which also acts as your shop icon. This should be at least 500 by 500 pixels. Your logo can be as simple as your shop name, styled nicely. If you're not sure where to start, you can go on Canva, search for logo templates, and use those as inspiration. The second one is your shop banner, which is the large banner at the top of your Etsy shop. The recommended size is 1200 by 300 pixels. For this, you can include your brand name and a few design elements. Later on, once you have products, I actually recommend updating your banner to showcase your products, since this is a really valuable space to visually show what you're selling. The third one is your receipt banner. This is what shows up on the top of a customer's receipt if they print it. The size for this is 760 by 100 pixels. Once you have all of these ready, go to your shop manager. Then go to settings, info and appearance. From here, you're going to fill out a few things. Shop title. This is like your business tagline. Shop icon. Upload your logo here. Receipt banner. Upload it here if you have one. Shop announcement. This is a short welcome message on your shop. You'll also see sections for messages to buyers. There's one for general orders and another one specifically for digital items. I highly recommend filling this out, especially for digital products. What I like to do here is include simple instructions on how to download their files because a lot of people actually don't know how to access their downloads. I'll put an example on screen so you can see what I usually include. Once that's done, go to your actual shop page and click Edit Shop. I'm using the Digital Stuff Society shop here as an example. From here, you can upload your shop banner, and on the right-hand side, you can also upload a profile photo. This can either be your logo or a photo of yourself. It's totally up to you. And once that's done, your shop is officially set up and looking ready to go. So now that your shop is fully set up, the next step is deciding what you're actually going to sell. And this part is very important because one of the biggest factors that will determine your success is choosing the right product. Step 1 is know your options. The first thing I want you to do is familiarize yourself with the different types of digital products you can sell, because you can't choose properly if you don't even know what your options are. So what you can do is go on ChatGPT, it's free, and type in a prompt like, give me a list of 100 digital products I can sell on Etsy. This will generate a bunch of ideas for you. Then go through that list and just familiarize yourself with the different types of products. And as you go through it, start marking a few that you're actually interested in creating. Step 2 is to check demand on Etsy. Once you have a few ideas, go on Etsy and search one product from your list. Now here's what you want to look for. Are there a lot of listings? This usually means sellers are actively creating in that space because customers are buying. Do you see bestseller or popular now badges? That's a strong sign that products in this niche are selling consistently. When you click into a listing, can you see if people have it in their carts or if it's been purchased in the last 24 hours? That means people are searching for it and actually buying it. And one more thing you can do here, if you click into a listing, I want you to click into the shop that's selling the product. Take a look at what other products they're selling and start taking notes. These can also be product ideas you can explore and research further later on. Because what you're doing here is essentially reverse engineering successful shops. You're looking at what's already working and using that as a reference for your own shop. Another really helpful thing you can check is their sales history. If you scroll down on their shop page, you will see their total number of sales. If you click into that, Etsy will sometimes show you the items they've sold. This gives you a really good idea of which products are actually selling in that shop, so you can spot their bestsellers and take notes from there. Just keep in mind that this feature is optional, so not all shops will have it turned on. As you're going through this process and seeing these patterns, if you can check off most of the things I mentioned, that's a really good sign that you're looking at a product with a real demand. And don't get scared if you see competition. High demand will always come with competition. That's completely normal. What you want is a product where people are already spending money, so you can come in with your own version. Now, one thing that can make this entire process a lot faster and easier is using a product research tool. The tool that I personally use is called PROFITTREE. And what it does is it pulls data from Etsy that you normally wouldn't be able to see, which makes it so much easier to identify products that are actually selling. So for example, let's say from your list earlier, you're interested in selling resume templates. You can type that into the product finder here in PROFITTREE. And from here, it's going to show you a list of products. But more importantly, it shows you data behind those listings. For each listing, you can see things like the price, monthly sales, monthly revenue, total revenue. And one of my favorite features here is the demand badges. This shows you how many times a product was viewed, added to cart, and purchased in the last 24 hours. And this is really powerful because it shows you recent demand. So instead of guessing what's working, you can actually see what people are actively engaging with right now. So for example, this top product here has made around $55,000 in total revenue. It's still making about $400 per month, and it's been added to cart 60 times in the last 24 hours. That tells you this is a product that's not just successful in the past, but is still performing right now. And from here, you can click view on Etsy and study the listing. Look at the design, the product images, what's included. This is where you start reverse engineering what's working and taking notes so you can apply similar ideas to your own product later on. This is the kind of data you wouldn't normally see just by browsing Etsy, so having a tool like this just makes your research process faster and more accurate. And what I like about PROFITTREE is that they offer a lifetime plan, so instead of paying monthly, you can get access for a one-time payment of $67, which honestly, for a tool you can use long-term to research products, it's a pretty solid investment, especially if you're serious about this business. I'll leave the link down below if you want to check it out. Alright, so just to give you a head start, I want to share some digital product ideas that I personally think are great to start with. These are either products that I've sold myself and have seen success with, or ones that I've researched using PROFITTREE and found really strong demand and revenue behind. So I'm going to put a list of these product ideas on screen here. You can pause the video, take notes, and use these as inspiration for what you might want to explore further. Before we get into actually designing your product, I just want to quickly say design is not something you can fully learn from one video. It's a skill. And like any skill, the more you practice it, the better you get. One of the best ways to improve quickly is by exposing yourself to good design. What I personally do is go on Pinterest and just scroll through designs for inspiration. You can also do this inside Canva. They already have thousands of templates created by other designers. Over time, you'll start to notice how artists design things. And that's how you train your eye. You're learning from their techniques and then applying those in your own designs. Now, if you're not sure what should actually go inside your product, go on Etsy and search for the product you want to create. Most listings will show exactly what's included either in the photos or in the description. So you can use that as a reference to understand what pages to include. Now that you have an idea of how to approach creating, the first thing you'll need is a Canva account. One of the most common questions I get is, do you need Canva Pro? If you're just starting and practicing, you can use the free version. But if you're planning to sell templates on Etsy, you will need Canva Pro because it's what allows you to generate template links. And that's what you'll be giving to your customers. There's no way around that, so just consider it as a part of your investment if you want to do this long term. Personally, I use Canva Pro a lot, especially for product photos and design elements, so it's definitely something you'll get value from. Now, before you start designing, I want to quickly show you how I organize my templates inside Canva, because once you start creating more products, things can get messy very fast if you're not organized. What I like to do is create a folder for each type of product. So for example, if I'm creating business cards, I'll create a folder called business cards. Inside that folder, I create two more folders, one called working project and another one called final project. Whenever I'm designing, I work inside the working project folder. And once I'm done, I duplicate the design and move it into the final project folder. The version inside the final project is the one I turn into a template link for my customers. And this is really important because once you generate a template link, that file becomes live. Meaning if you accidentally edit or delete something later, your customers will receive that updated version. So this system protects your final designs. If I ever want to go back and reuse or tweak something, I always go into the working project version, not the final one. That way, I never accidentally mess up a file that customers are receiving. This is optional, but it's something I highly recommend, especially if you plan to create a lot of products. Just makes everything easier to manage and find later on. Let's quickly talk about licensing and copyright because this is where a lot of beginners accidentally mess up. Just because you can download something online doesn't mean you're allowed to sell it. For example, if you grab graphics from Pinterest, Google, or even random websites, you cannot just turn those into a product and sell them. That can get your listing taken down, or worse, your entire shop suspended. So here's the safe way to do it. If you're using platforms like Canva, most of the elements inside are actually okay to use for commercial purposes, meaning you can sell designs that include them. But there's a catch. You're not allowed to just take an element as is and resell it on its own. You have to turn it into a new design. So for example, you can't just grab a single graphic from Canva and sell it on its own as a product. What you can do is use that graphic as a part of a bigger design. So maybe you add text, combine it with other elements, include photos, change the colors, adjust the layout. Basically, you're transforming it into something new. Same thing goes for fonts and illustrations. Always check if they come with a commercial use license. If it says personal use only, that means you cannot sell it. Another big one, trademarks. You cannot use things like brand names, logos, celebrities, or anything copyrighted. So no Disney, no Taylor Swift, no Nike-inspired anything. Even if you see other people doing it, that doesn't mean it's allowed. Just means they haven't been caught yet. And Etsy is getting stricter with this. The safest mindset to have is this: if you don't have the rights to use it commercially, don't use it. And if you're ever unsure, take a moment to look it up and confirm whether it's copyrighted or trademarked before using it. For this example, we're going to create some logo templates. This is one of the easiest digital products you can make, especially as a beginner. Before I even start designing anything, the first thing I like to do is go on Etsy and look at similar listings. I'll type in the product and just browse through what other sellers are offering. I want to see what's commonly included so I can make sure my product stays competitive. This helps make sure that my listing offers the same level of value as others, so buyers don't feel like they're getting less by choosing mine. In fact, if anything, I want them to feel like they're getting more. From what I've seen in my research, most sellers include a few variations when offering logo templates, so we'll be doing the same. So now let's go ahead and start designing. For this part, I'm going to insert a tutorial from one of my past videos where I show you my full design process. Click Create a Design. And one of the things I love about Canva is that it already has preset dimensions for pretty much anything you want to make. So if you just type in logo, you'll see it'll generate a ready-made canvas for you. In this case, it's 2000 by 2000 pixels, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and click that. Now, whenever I'm designing a logo, the first thing I like to do is to choose my colors and my font. It just makes the whole process so much easier because the ideas just flow better when everything is already set. So usually I'll pick around 4 colors for the design and then I'll choose a font to go with it. For this one, I'm using Cooper BT. And what I like to do is adjust the letter spacing a bit. So I'll just select the text, go to spacing, and bring the letter spacing down to around -56. I personally like my text to look a little bit more compressed. It just gives it a more modern feel. So now that I have my base elements ready, I'm going to go ahead and start designing. So usually when I'm designing a logo set, I don't just create one version. I like to make a few variations. The first one is the primary logo. This is the full version of the brand name and it's the one that's used most of the time. Then I'll create a secondary logo, which is just another variation of the design, so the client has different options depending on where they want to use it. And then finally, I like to create submarks, which are the smaller versions. This is usually where you'll just see the initials or a symbol, often placed inside a circle or a square. So for the first page, I'm going to start by changing the colors. I'll switch the background to one of the brand colors that I chose. One thing I love about setting your colors on the first page is that it automatically shows up here under Document Colors. So whenever you need to change anything later on, it's just so much easier to find everything. And I'm going to copy and paste my text here and change it to the brand name, which is Cowboy Creative. For Cowboy, I'm keeping it in this brown color, and for Creative, I'm switching it to this dark green. Now I'm going to add an element that fits the cowboy theme. So I'll just search cowboy here. When you're choosing elements, filter it to free only. That way, whoever uses the template doesn't need a Canva Pro subscription. So I'm just going to scroll through and find something that fits. I really like this lasso, so I'm going to add that in. Then I'll adjust the colors to match the branding and position it nicely within the logo. And that's pretty much it. Our primary logo is done. Alright, so now for the second page, I'm going to change the background to brown. Then I'll just copy over the same text from the primary logo and adjust the colors a bit. And as you can see, I'm not really reinventing the wheel here. I'm just taking the same concept from the primary logo and switching things up slightly. Now I'm going to look for another element that fits the branding. I'm thinking a cowboy hat, so I'll search for that and pick one that works. I'll add it in, change the colors to match the brand, and then position it nicely within the logo. I also want to add some stars just because I feel like it really ties into that cowboy aesthetic. So I'll place a few on the left and right side, tilt them slightly, and just have them frame the design a bit. And there it is. That's the secondary logo. I did end up finding a better hat later on, so I swapped it out, but this is the final look. Alright, so for the third page, we're creating one of the submarks. I'm going to start by adding a circle shape and changing the color to brown. Then I'll copy over the same text that we've been using from the previous logos, make everything uppercase, and adjust the color. I want to wrap the text around the circle, so I'll go to Effects and choose Curve. I'll also switch the font to bold and then adjust the letter spacing until it wraps nicely around the shape. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other word as well. Next, I'll add the same stars we used earlier and place them on the sides of the circle. I'll change the color to dark green. I feel like it just works better here. Now for the center, I want to add a symbol. Instead of just searching cowboy, I'll type in Wild West because it usually gives more variety in terms of elements. I found this really cute cowboy hat that matches the style of the lasso from the primary logo, so I'm going to use that. I'll adjust the colors to fit the palette, position it nicely in the center, and that's pretty much it. That's the final look for the first submark. Now for the second submark, I'm going to add another circle, but this time I'll change the color to dark green. I'm going to duplicate the circle, set the fill to transparent, and then add a border. I'll change the border color to white, adjust the stroke style, and increase the weight to around 4 to 5. Then I'll position that inside the circle so it creates an inner frame. Next, I'll add the initials of the brand. Since it's Cowboy Creative, I'm using 2 C's. For the second C, I'll lower the transparency to around 45%. This just adds a bit more depth and makes the design feel more layered. And then to tie everything together, I'll bring back the same star element we've been using and place one on each side. And that's pretty much it for the second submark. Now that we have the logo created, this is something that can be used pretty much everywhere. This can go on social media, on packaging, on storefronts, business cards, and even on someone's website. Now that your product is done, let's talk about your product photos. This is one of the most important parts of your listing because it's how you present your products on Etsy. Since you're selling digital products, people can't physically touch them. Your photos are the only thing they can rely on to decide if your product is worth buying. And you're also competing with thousands of other listings. If your photos don't catch attention right away, people will just scroll past without even checking. This is why I always say it's not just about having a good product. You also need strong product photos because that's what actually sells it. On Etsy, you can upload up to 20 photos per listing, and I recommend using as many as you can. The more visuals you have, the better you can showcase your product. For sizing, Etsy recommends images to be at least 2,000 pixels. Personally, I use 2,700 by 2,025 pixels for all my product photos. To create my photos, I use Canva. It's super beginner friendly and it has a lot of built-in mockups that you can use. Mockups are basically visuals where your product is placed in a real-life setting. So for example, if you're selling wall art, you can show it on a wall. If you're selling templates, you can place them on a laptop, tablet, or phone so people can visualize how they'll use it. If you want more variety, you can also check out Place It. It's not free, but they have a wide range of mockups you might not find in Canva. Totally optional, but a good resource to know. Now let's talk about what to actually include in your product photos. You don't need to include everything I'm about to list. Just pick what makes sense for your product, but these are some of the most effective types of images you can use. First is main photo. This is your scroll-stopping image. This is what people see first in search, so make it count. Supporting previews. Show different pages, variations, or angles so buyers can see what they're getting. This is also where you can insert your mockups. What's included? Clearly list everything included in the purchase so there's no confusion. Features. Highlight what makes your product unique or valuable. Before and after, especially for templates, show the transformation. How it works. Walk them through how to use or access the product. FAQ. Answer common questions up front to remove hesitation. Testimonials. Add social proof if you have it. Upsell page. Suggest related products in your shop. Notes. Things like this is a digital download. No physical product will be shipped. If you mix and match these properly, you'll end up with a set of product photos that not only look good, but also answer all the buyer's questions, and that's what ultimately leads to more sales. Now, you might be wondering how to actually create your product photos. What you want to do first is download your finished designs. So once your templates are done, export them as PNG or JPEG. Then go back into Canva and create a new project for your product photos. From there, upload the files you just downloaded, and now you can start designing your listing images. You can lay the pages out, show multiple designs in one frame, zoom into certain sections, or place them into mockups like a laptop, tablet, or phone. That's essentially the process. You're taking your finished designs and presenting them in a way that clearly shows what the customer is getting. Now let's move on to creating your product video. One of the easiest ways to stand out on Etsy is by adding a video to your listing. Because when someone finds your product in search and hovers over your listing, your video will automatically start playing. That alone gives you a huge advantage because you're able to showcase your product in more than one way, and not just through a static image. Now, I know a lot of people think creating product videos for digital products is complicated, but it's actually way easier than you think. What you really want to do with your listing video is show your product in action. So for example, if you're selling a Canva website, what I like to do is go into the actual template and then just screen record myself scrolling through the pages to give people a preview of what's inside. Then inside Canva, you can look for frames like a tablet or a laptop and then just drag your video into that frame. And that's pretty much it. You now have a product video. You can also take it a step further by showing how the product is edited, so you can screen record yourself changing text or colors in the template just to show how easy it is to customize. It honestly takes just a few minutes to create, but it makes your listing feel so much more real and interactive. Now let's move on to delivery, because this is how your customers will receive your product after purchase. I like to break this into two types depending on what you're selling. First is Canva templates. If you're selling a Canva template, create a simple PDF inside Canva, usually in US letter size. This will act as your access page. Add your logo, a short thank you note, and a line like click the button below to access your template. Then create a clickable button. Next, go to your template, click share, then template link, and generate the link. Copy it. Go back to your PDF, click your button, add a link, and paste it there. Once you're done, name your file properly and download it as a PDF. This is the file you'll upload to Etsy. So when your customer clicks a download button, they'll be taken to Canva where they can make their own copy. This keeps your original file untouched while giving them full access to edit. The second type is for finished products like wall art or printables. For this, I still recommend using a PDF, but instead of pasting a Canva link, you'll use a Google Drive link. This is because Etsy has file size limits. If your files are large or you have multiple files, you might not be able to upload everything directly to Etsy, so this just makes delivery a lot easier. So upload all your files into a Google Drive folder. Click share and copy the link. Make sure your sharing settings are set to anyone with a link, otherwise your customers won't be able to access the files. Then inside your PDF, follow the same process as before, just paste the link to your Google Drive folder instead of a Canva template link. And that's it for product delivery. Now let's talk about your title, description, and tags because this is what helps your product get found on Etsy. The biggest tip here is don't start from scratch. Go on Etsy, search your product, and look at the top performing listings. Pay attention to the words they're using in their titles. What you're doing here is reverse engineering what's already working. If those listings are selling, it means the terms they're using are effective and relevant. Click into multiple listings and take note of the words and phrases that keep showing up. This gives you a solid foundation for your own listing. Now, this doesn't mean you should copy other sellers' titles word for word. You're simply gathering the keywords that keep popping up across the listings you've studied and using them as a base. Your title should reflect what you're actually selling, not be a copy-paste of someone else's. Once you have those, you can start building your title. Now, Etsy recommends shorter titles now, but personally, I still use the full character limit and include as many relevant terms as possible. It helps you show up in more searches. For example, if you're selling Instagram templates, you might include terms like Canva templates, Instagram posts, social media manager, influencer marketing, content creator, and even your design style like boho or minimalist. Think about what your customer would type into the search bar and go from there. For your description, I personally use ChatGPT. A simple prompt you can use is write an SEO-optimized Etsy product description for insert your product. That includes the following terms, insert your tags. Then just tweak it to match your tone. Make sure you also clearly list what's included in the product, sizes, how many pages, and what formats they're getting. The more specific you are, the better. For tags, I reuse the most relevant terms for my title and add any extra ones that didn't fit. Etsy allows up to 13 tags and I recommend using all of them. At the end of the day, your goal is simple. Use terms in your title, description, and tags that are relevant to your product. Now let's move on to pricing your product. A good starting point here is to look at what other sellers are charging for products similar to yours. Again, go on Etsy, search your product, and look at the top performing listings. Pay attention not just to their prices, but also to what's included in their products. If what you're offering is very similar, that gives you a solid benchmark for how you can price yours. If your product includes less, you can price slightly lower. If it includes more, you can price a bit higher. At the end of the day, the market will tell you what people are willing to pay, so use that as your guide. Now, one thing I do want to say is don't fall into the trap of pricing your product too low just to compete. I know it can be tempting, especially when you're starting out, but I personally don't believe in competing on price. I believe in competing on value. When you price your products too low, a few things happen. First, it becomes really hard to turn this into a solid income because you're earning very little per sale. But more importantly, there's also buyer psychology involved. People naturally associate price with value. When something is priced very low, people often assume it's lower quality, even if that's not actually true. On the other hand, when something is priced higher, it tends to feel more premium and more valuable. So instead of trying to be the cheapest option, focus on making your product worth the price. Make sure your designs are strong, your product photos are high quality, and what you're including actually justifies the price you're charging. At the end of the day, your goal is to find that balance where your product is competitive in the market, but still priced in a way that reflects the value you're offering. So now that you've got everything ready, your product photos, product video, PDF delivery, title, description, tags, and price, you're pretty much ready to upload your listing onto Etsy. Start by going to your Shop Manager dashboard, then click on Listings and click Add a Listing. From here, it's going to ask you to upload your photos and your videos, so go ahead and upload everything here. Next, you'll choose your category. So for example, if you're selling Instagram templates, just type that in and Etsy will usually suggest the best category for you. You can just select the one that fits your product the most. Then it will ask what type of item it is, so you'll select digital files. For when it was made, you can just choose 2020 to 2026. Now you're going to paste your title, the one you created earlier, into the title section. Then scroll down and upload your file. This is where your delivery PDF goes, the one that contains your template link or your Google Drive link. After that, paste your description into the description box and then add your tags that you prepared earlier. For your pricing, enter the price you decided on. For quantity, since this is a digital product, you can just put something like 100 to start. It doesn't really matter because you can always renew it. Then it will ask who made it. Select I did. What is it? Select a finished product. And for how it was created, just select that it was created by you unless you used AI, in which case you indicate that. Now for the shop section, you have the option to add this listing to a section. Sections are basically categories inside your shop, kind of like how online stores have categories like tops, dresses, or shoes. If you want to organize your shop, you can click add a section, name it, save it, and then assign your product to that section. This just helps your customers navigate your shop more easily. You'll also see an option to feature this listing. This means the product will show up at the top of your shop. If you think this is one of your best products or something you really want people to see first, you can turn this on. For renewal options, I usually just keep it automatic. And once everything is filled out, you can go ahead and click publish. Now let's talk about Pinterest marketing. Pinterest is one of my favorite ways to promote my products outside of Etsy, especially because it's completely free and it can drive traffic to your shop over time. Unlike other platforms, Pinterest works more like a search engine. So when people search for things like templates, printables, or digital products, your pins can show up and continue bringing in traffic even weeks or months later. That's why I highly recommend using it as part of your marketing strategy. The first step is to create a Pinterest business account. If you already have a personal account, you can just switch it to a business account. This gives you access to analytics so you can see how your pins are performing and what's actually driving traffic to your shop. Next, set up your profile so it looks clean and professional. Upload your logo, add your business name, write a simple bio explaining what you sell, and include your Etsy shop link so people can easily find your products. After that, create boards inside your account. Think of boards as categories for your content. Each board should be based on a specific product type. For example, if you sell templates, you can create boards like Instagram templates, branding kits, or business templates. Make sure you name your boards using words people are actually searching for so Pinterest can understand your content and show it to the right audience. Now for creating pins, I personally use Canva for this. You can either reuse your Etsy product photos that you already made or create vertical pins using the recommended size, which is 1000 by 1500 pixels. Vertical pins tend to perform better because they take up more space on the screen and are more eye-catching. Personally, I do both. When creating your designs, keep it simple. Add your product, maybe a short text overlay, and let your design speak for itself. When uploading your pin, your title and description are very important. For your title, use the main keywords your ideal customer would search for. You can also reuse high-performing keywords from your Etsy title here. For your description, include as many relevant keywords as possible so Pinterest understands what your content is about. You can also use ChatGPT to generate ideas and speed up this process. Once everything is ready, upload your pin. Go to your Pinterest dashboard, click Create Pin, upload your image, paste your title and description, and then add your product link so people can easily purchase. For the link, make sure you're not just copying the regular Etsy URL. Instead, use your share and save link. You can find this by going to your Etsy listing, clicking the gear icon, selecting share, and copy link. That way, if someone clicks through Pinterest and buys, you'll actually save on Etsy fees. For each product, I recommend creating multiple pins with different designs or variations, and then spread them out over a few days instead of posting everything at once. You can also use Pinterest's built-in scheduler to plan your posts ahead of time so you don't have to be on the platform every day. Quick tip, you can also pin directly from Etsy if you want a faster option. So go to your Etsy shop manager, open the listing you want to share, click the gear icon and select share to Pinterest. From there, Pinterest will pop up and you can choose which board to save it to. This is a great shortcut if you're short on time, but my main strategy is still creating custom vertical pins because they tend to perform better and get more clicks. And that's it. Pinterest marketing might feel slow at first, but over time, it can become a really powerful traffic source for your shop. Now let's talk about Etsy ads. Etsy ads are a built-in advertising tool that allows you to promote your listings directly within Etsy search results. So when someone searches for a product, your listing can show up in a more visible position. Now, as a beginner, this is completely optional. You don't have to run ads to make sales, but I did want to include this section in case you want to explore it because for me personally, Etsy ads have been really beneficial. I still use Etsy ads to this day, and I found that the return I get from them far outweighs what I spent. It's been a big factor in increasing my overall revenue. Just keep in mind that once you open your Etsy shop, you'll need to wait 15 days before you can start running Etsy ads. Now, there are two types of ads on Etsy. The first is Etsy ads, which run inside the platform. These work on a pay-per-click system, meaning you only pay when someone clicks on your listing. If no one clicks, you don't spend anything, which makes it very beginner-friendly. The second is off-site ads. These are ads Etsy runs for you on platforms like Google or Pinterest. You don't pay upfront for these, but if someone clicks and makes a purchase, Etsy will charge an additional fee on that order. Before you turn on ads, it's important to understand that ads don't fix a weak listing. They only amplify what's already there. So if your photos, title, or offer aren't strong, ads will just send more people to a listing that still won't convert. That's why I recommend only running ads on listings that are already somewhat validated, meaning they're getting views, favorites, or even a few sales. To set up Etsy ads, go to your shop manager, click on marketing, and then Etsy ads. From there, set your daily budget. You can start small, even just $1 to $3 a day while you're testing. By default, Etsy will turn ads on for all your listings, but I recommend turning that off and only selecting a few of your strongest products so your budget is focused on listings that actually have the potential to perform. Once your ads are running, give them a few weeks to collect data. Then you'll start to see things like views, clicks, orders, revenue, and spend from ads. The main thing you want to look at is whether you're making more money than you're spending. If a listing is consistently bringing in sales and the revenue outweighs your ad spend, keep it running. If a listing has been spending money but not generating sales, it's probably best to turn it off. And if a listing is getting clicks but no purchases, that usually means something needs to be improved, like your product photos, pricing, or offer. At the end of the day, Etsy ads are simply a tool to help you get more visibility. You don't have to use them, but if you do, use them strategically. You want your ads to help you make more money than you're spending. And as long as that's happening, you're on the right track. So now that you've set everything up, you've created your product, your listings are live, and you've learned how to market them, the next question is, what do you do from here? The answer is you start adding more products and repeat the same process. You see, Etsy is very much a numbers game. You can't expect your shop to take off with just a handful of listings. It's not impossible, but it's going to be very difficult to build a solid income if you only have less than 10 products in your shop. If you look at the most successful shops on Etsy, they usually have hundreds or even thousands of products. And that's really the goal you want to work towards over time. The way I like to think about it is that every listing you create is like a door into your shop. The more products you have, the more doors people have to discover you, and the more chances you have to make a sale. Now, here's something really important to understand. Not all of your products are going to sell. In fact, most of them probably won't. I have hundreds of products in my shop, and only a small percentage of them are actually responsible for most of my sales. This follows something called the 80-20 principle, where roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So a small portion of your products will end up becoming your best sellers, and those are the ones that will carry your shop and bring in consistent income. Your job is not to make every single product a bestseller. Your job is to create enough products so you can discover which ones have that potential. As you continue adding more listings, you'll start to gather data. You'll see which products are getting more views, more favorites, and more sales. You'll start to notice patterns in what people like, whether that's a certain style or a type of product. Once you see what's working, that's when you double down. Create more of that product, expand on that style, build variations of it, and keep going in that direction. Another strategy that can really help you scale faster is bundling. Bundling is when you take multiple products that make sense together and sell them as a set. This not only increases your average order value, but it also allows you to create more listings without starting from scratch every time. You're essentially repackaging products you've already made into a higher value offer. It also gives your customers more options. Some people prefer buying individual items, while others would rather get everything in one bundle at a slightly better value. At the end of the day, your goal here is to build a shop with enough products to give you consistent traffic and to develop multiple bestsellers that bring in steady sales. The more you create, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the easier it becomes to create products that actually sell. That's how you grow and scale your Etsy shop over time. Now, before we wrap this up, I just want to share something that could really help you if you're feeling stuck on what to create. Because honestly, one of the hardest parts when starting this is not selling. It's figuring out what products to make in the first place and how to create them. And if that's where you are right now, that's exactly why I created the Vault. The Vault is basically a library of over 1,000 digital products that I've personally designed based on what has actually performed well in my shop. So instead of starting from a blank page, you're getting access to products that are already proven to sell. All the designs you've seen me use in this video are inside the Vault, so if anything caught your eye, you can actually use those exact templates yourself. You can edit them, customize them, and resell them as your own. So if you want to skip the guesswork and just get started right away, this can be a really helpful option for you. I'll leave the link in the description box if you want to check it out. And that's it. You now have everything you need to start your Etsy shop and actually make this work. So take what you learned here and build from there. You never know where this could take you. Good luck, and I'm really rooting for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!